Ladies and gentlemen, welcome along to another episode of EOTT with me, Jimmy James, and it's a pleasure to share some solutions for 2020 with our brother from across the pond, Mike Emery. Mike, how are you, brother?
Okay, bro, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you, sir. Very well indeed. I've been quite intrigued these last few days, probably about a week or so. I was introduced to the whole phenomenon of BubbleTech, and I've been trying to kind of learn as much as I can. I've been devouring the BubbleTech group on Facebook and seeing what everyone's doing, and you and I have conversed kind of briefly, and you're saying that the community's growing well, and it's absolutely fascinating. Yeah, and I'm looking to make my own very soon to see what we can do. But if I may, Mike, would you be kind enough to kind of just give us a little bit of background of yourself? I know you said you're a physicist, but it would be great to kind of to hear kind of how you got onto this path and what brought you to the kind of place where you are now.
That's hive mind, really. It was predestined. I started out as a Montana cowboy. I used to ride the range from sun up to sundown rodeo on weekends, and now I'm a physicist in England. How the fuck did that happen? Excuse me.
No, that's fine. EOTT,
we have the Merlin energy in me, which is real obvious with all these technologies, as well as Merlin's last name was Emery, E-M-R-Y-S. My name is Emery, and Merlin found as much power in the dark side as the white side. I've learned way more from the dark than I have from the white.
Indeed, yeah, indeed.
Because you have to understand the skid marks. You got that they're easy to follow. So like as a physicist, my physics has graduated to where it should be, where all the other physicists should be. Once you get past how the universe is constructed, which is not difficult because it runs like a computer simulation, you get to the point that it's all consciousness, and the consciousness is images that are bound together by emotions. And the two root emotions that have been used to bind memories for the entirety of this multiverse, which is innumerable extinction events. We know how many, we don't know.
Yeah.
We're talking mass extinction events where 90% of the DNA leaves the planet. And then we come and do the exact same shit show all over again. We'll wind up with another mass extinction event. It's kind of like, excuse me. And then along the way, you have these things where you got 16 Jesus figures in this epoch. Epoch is the amount of time between the Genesis event and the next extinction event. Then you have whatever length of time between the extinction event to the Genesis event. And the Genesis events, they studied 100,000 mammals, tracking through 5 mass extinction events, including humans. And when the Genesis event comes along, all 90% of the DNA comes back in what they could only find 20 years, okay? Well, excuse me, they always find what they're looking for. It actually just blinked back in, like everything does.
On that note, if I may, Mike, I made a little note. I was going to come to it later, but I'll ask you now because it popped up. Antony van, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing, is it Leeuwenhoek? We're talking about...
Antony van Leeuwenhoek, the father of microbiology.
Indeed. The worms materializing from nothing in the water.
He was famous for this. He took distilled water and sealed it in glass pipettes, and he was into microscopes. That's why he's into and that's what his original thing was. And so he sealed these things, and then after a little while, the wee beasties come swimming around inside the distilled water that you could see with these microscopes. And that went on to become microbiology.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff, and as you say, the holographic nature of the simulation, once you can kind of grasp all that, everything becomes explainable. That's what we're kind of coming to find now. But
it's all transparent.
Indeed, yeah. Indeed.
There's not one single mystery anywhere. Okay, there are to our batshit brain because it doesn't process everything that should. Humans are BBI, I call it. Barely babbling idiots.
You're right there, mate. You're right. And unfortunately, I think that
our subconscious processes the equivalent of 10,000 feature-length movies all playing at the same time, something like, I don't know, 50 million bits a second. And our waking consciousness, when we're during that period of the day that we think we're awake, processes 40 bits a second. Babbling idiot. Barely babbling.
Barely babbling. I like that. That's a good one. It's a good one.
But the reason, there's been a reason for that, And humans, not only are we barely babbling idiots, but it makes it pretty obvious that we're also puppets of these hive minds, for real puppets. And wherein, amazingly, not one single thought in our head is our own. It all comes from hive mind. And right now, we're in a brand new hive mind sequence of events. And the way that you know that you are absolutely, positively in a hive mind show is that you got hard edges to things. And the only way that you have hard edges to things is polarity, and which is a offshoot of duality. What the root of duality is first of all loneliness and the fear of loneliness, and then love. Love and fear is the duality, right? And so, in order for there something to have hard edges, it has to be involved in polarity and duality, which comes from the shit show that goes down in our subconscious, which leads to statements like, you get little tidbits, like in the Wilcock and what it is above or beyond majestic, they said that every word in every book ever printed on this planet is disinformation. Correct. It's all based on duality. Like a friend of mine says, why is it that we die so often only when we're just trying to figure out how, the root nature of bullshit.
the old recycling.
Everything that's based on duality leads you away from who you actually are, and therefore it's all not only BS, but addictive BS, because we get addicted to thinking it's real, whereas none of it is, zero. And the fact that BubbleTech works is proof of that, okay? Because it is that if we, humans, via our intentions, can have massive effects over hurricanes, typhoons, rain, fire, turning back fire, curing cancer, all kinds. I mean, the miracles are mind-boggling in BubbleTech, okay? So, excuse me. If we, via our intentions, can have effect on matter, then it was our intentions that made the matter in the first place.
Yeah, indeed. I found an interesting post earlier, Mike, on the BubbleTech forum from a chap called Mark Bennett. Give him a little shout out. And he was what he was asking rather about natural occurrences of the BubbleTech, and with regards to stone circles perhaps, and maybe there was an extra element that needed to be taken into the stone circles to activate them. Is there any thoughts on that kind of way of thinking, or with regards to the stone circles, do you see any links with regards to a larger kind of scale, ley lines, etc.? Does this play into the narrative at all, do you think?
Well, BubbleTech is very clearly designed, for now.
Of course, yeah.
Okay? All right, and the neat thing about BubbleTech is, number one, it's extremely cheap. Anybody can do it.
Exactly.
Absolutely anybody can do it. Okay. Number two, we don't need structure. We don't need the ley lines. We don't need the stone circles. We don't need the pyramids. Our bubbles are more powerful than the pyramids by far.
On that note, bear with. I wrote a note about the chakra and the Kundalini matrices. Again, does this play into that same thing of the unnecessary kind of
structure? Correct.
Structures that have been, however you want to say it. I know there was a big well, I say big, but there was a lot of people kind of getting into this chakra removal business and whatnot. And out of curiosity, I tried it out myself. It had no discernible effect that I was able to ascertain. But what can you tell us, Mike, please, about the kind of your understanding of the chakra and the Kundalini matrices and how people are going to be able to kind of grow out of it, bypass it, ascend it, however you want to kind of.
Well, the Kundalini is real obvious because, you know, the Anu, our Anu, A-N-U, the first name of God in the Babylonian texts, Sumerian texts, and the Vedas, and it contains the two male forms of God, you know, Jesus and God the Father, but much better described in Hindu as Vishnu and Shiva, you know, and Vishnu being described, you know, in the Hindu, being the preserver of form, right-handed spin, and centripetal, or standing column, or it is the DNA form in the middle of the Anu. And then Shiva is described as being the destroyer of form and ego, and centrifugal, left-handed spin in centrifugal, and that's what you have in the Anu, you know? No, but you actually have mirror images of it. You have both right and left, but it also means that this universe that we're in is predominantly right-handed spin, which means that there's a mirror to us where it's left-handed spin, and there is, you know, a whole other universe. You know, that's almost a mirror image of this one, you know, and it goes both ways, you know, and so those exist, and the deal about the Kundalini is that it's a rising of the energy up through the DNA part of us, which also goes up our spine. Now, the energy runs in there all the time anyway, you know, and it has to in order to make us. It is like this, that the way DNA works is that it's turned on with a messenger RNA on a chromosome, just somewhere in the string of the DNA comes a messenger RNA and connects to it. That then creates a chromosome, okay? And that chromosome, the way that it's turned on is via superconducting light, which is just photons. It's not vibrations. Vibrations are 3D because they require polarity, you know, whereas the Anu is nonpolar, and photons are nonpolar. They have no polarity. They're supposedly affected by gravity. You know, well, they are affected by gravity, you know, and the way that they're affected by gravity is that gravity is an affinity for information. So if there's an Anu going by, there's information in it, and any other Anu around wants to share it with it. You know, which is why you can take like a diseased tissue culture, and put it right next to another diseased tissue culture, and the disease will transfer to the other one, even though they're hermetically sealed from one another. You know, but particularly if you have a quartz glass plate window in between, you know, then it'll much quicker it'll transfer across. You know, and vice versa, it goes the other way too. But so the reason for that is mirroring. Everything mirrors due to this system of ethers, you know, with Anus in them. And the Anus, the DNA part, organizes information, doesn't it? All spin organizes information, you know? And so that organized information sticks with us, but it can be changed, because it's just like your DNA. We do shape-shifting. Humans do shape-shifting. You know?
I've seen it. Yeah,
I think yeah. You know, from little to old, you know, you change a shitload. Okay, well, excuse me, how is it to do that? Well, there is, as a matter of fact, all chemical transmutation going on all day, every day, in all living things that the chemists and the physicists don't want to tell you about, but it is absolute. For example, my favorite example is that a crop of corn will have 10 times more magnesium in it than what's leached out the soil. Excuse me. Where did it come from? Yeah? And the answer is, it got manifest, didn't it? Okay, well then what did it get manifest from? Okay, and the answer is other minerals, like a piece of iron, an atom of iron, has an Anu around it. Everything has an Anu around it. The information that makes that piece of iron is in the DNA part of that Anu. So what happened was the whole crop of corn said, excuse me, we need magnesium. And they changed the information. They imposed their will upon the piece of iron and made it into a magnesium. Okay? And that's one possibility where the magnesium comes from. The other one is they just simply manifest it, because it's, it's just an image. Okay? And once the image has been imposed, it has to be taken up by the field. Okay, the source of the image. This is important. This is how I found out how everything works.
This is like the morphic resonance and the morphogenetic fields, right?
Well, yeah.
Would you say that or no?
Yeah, that they don't provide the exact mechanisms by where things work. I provide the exact mechanism.
Beautiful.
Which is mirroring. And the rule, like attracts like, there is no other rule. Consciousness obeys one rule, and it's God's law. I am that I am, like attracts like, mirroring. Thus, we have a holographic shit show, computer simulation, that replays and replays and replays and replays. Excuse me. Can't you, why do you do it like that? Why don't you ever change it? Why do we have to have 16 Jesus figures,
It's so synchronicitous, if that's such a word, that my dear friend Roger was out with myself last night and our brother Paul Devlin, and that came up, the 16, we were talking about the Armenian genocide and this other stuff, but we won't get into that now, but he mentioned the fact of the 16 crucifixions. It's funny that you bring that up, because it's a bit of a niche subject. Can I ask you, Mike, what's your understanding of these, I found it quite recently, and the study came from kind of salamanders, excuse me, with regards to these holographic med beds, where I'm sure you're familiar with what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Jared Rand started talking about them, as far as I know, and then there's a couple other guys, claiming that they want to build one. Okay, and I've got a super soldier coming to me, with his experiences as on Mars and Moon and every place else that they put them guys, and he wants to build one, and I've got much better, but anyway, yeah, it's entirely possible.
Viable principles, yeah.
Possible. I'm the physicist, I've got a physical age regression device that is the Cadillac, the best possible physical age regression device on this planet, given the elements we've got to work with. And it's not done yet, but there's no question it'll work, and it's based on xenon. And amazingly, the replicators exist, okay? Now, I didn't design them, but somebody else did. And they use xenon, just like my device does, called the Dream Machine. And so there's just, and physical age regression, including regrow. Well, Stephen Smith, I talked to at the University of Kentucky 30 years ago. They were doing limb regeneration, okay? And so this is, and the way that they did it there is that, for example, the human arm has 53 growth rings, and you take really fine silver electrodes and you put it in the growth ring on either side of the stub of an arm. And what will happen is that and you put the right frequency, the frequency of DNA is from 52 to 78 gigahertz. This is Russian. So you put the right frequency in minute amounts into the arm, okay? And then what happens is that the nerves will break the skin, okay? And the nerves come out, and then a gelatinous substance builds up in between the nerves and then differentiates. And they go right down to the fingernails. They grow their arm back. That was a long time ago. This
is it, Mike. It's all been suppressed. It's all black project stuff, they keep it all, excuse me, hidden away from us. I made a note about Rudolf Steiner, predicting that tones and frequencies would be used ubiquitously for healing by the end of the 20th century, but obviously Big Pharma put a stop to that. But I'm finding that a lot of people, and myself as well, the binaural beats, different tones, they are very beneficial. I've been looking at a little idea that I had. I have some friends who are involved in the free party scenes. They have these huge banks of speakers that they take out into these fields for these, so say, illegal raves. And I was wondering, if you could use those for kind of digital sound baths. I went to a wonderful sound bath for my birthday last year. My partner took us, and lovely little yurt, beautiful couple, and it was all the gongs, the singing bowls, etc., etc. And it was wonderful. And I'm just thinking, theoretically, that can be duplicated through these huge speakers, I think, and that's something I'll be looking into now. So it's something I want to get into. Are you familiar with Tim Rufat?
Yeah, he's also a super soldier, and he is knows what he's doing. And
Seems so, yeah.
You want to be avoid. You need to avoid him.
I've been told that. I've been told that. Yeah.
Yeah. In there's a good guy, but that good guy ain't coming out just now. He still thinks he's a soldier and need to kill shit.
Interesting.
And have dominion over people, which I've seen him do.
Right.
Establish dominion over people and then make their life hell. He's done that to a couple of people I know.
Right. Yeah. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Like I say, there's a good guy, and he's very capable, extremely capable.
Seems
but
so,
back to your talking about the frequency as healing. Everything's made from light, and light's nonpolar. You have to have polarity to have frequencies.
Right.
So frequencies is not the answer.
We're still stuck in the kind of I don't know how to describe it. Maybe the lower levels or the lower levels of understanding. She kind of. I remember you were during your chat with Sandra, and she was talking about the frequencies or the vibrations rather, and you were saying that the BubbleTech. It ascends that kind of level of the matrix. Then is it fair to put it like that?
All frequencies lead you to the matrix, to the hive mind matrix. Because all frequencies, you have any one memory, it creates the entire multiverse, the entire shit show. And all memories pretend a future, which means you're in the hive mind. When you live in the now, it's like playing, like little kids.
Yeah.
And you that's what we need to become, is like nature spirits, that's dancing and singing and playing all day long, continuously, forever.
Yeah.
That's what's about to happen. Because duality is based on love and fear, and love and fear also bind memories. Memories pretend the shit show. Okay, well then what's the problem? Memories. All right, well then get rid of the memories. How do you do that? Well, you cut off the emotion that binds the memories, which is either fear or love. And when you cut that off, which euphoria does, then the memory's gone. I mean, gone. Because the images that bind it together aren't no longer bound together. So that, whatever it was, is canceled.
That's that state of timelessness, right?
Okay.
That is what, to my mind anyway, what you're describing there is the state of timelessness, as you say, being in the moment, timelessness, no future, no past, just being right there. Right. I've only experienced that through entheogenic substances.
Yeah, but it's also highly important to go into that state as an idiot, because it has been our mission in life to provide entertainment for one another. And the highest form of entertainment is surprise.
Yeah.
Surprise!
Novelty. Yes, indeed.
Okay, so who's best at doing that? Idiots. Win every time. Want some surprise? Watch some idiots.
I like that. Makes sense. Makes sense. So circling back around, Mike, if we may, because this is how our paths have crossed, is trying to find solutions, for 2020 to kind of, I've put enough information out there now of kind of where we're at reality-wise, what's going on. It's like, well, what are the answers then? What do we do? And I don't have all the answers. Nobody does. But I think we are kind of starting to pull a lot of threads and pieces of the puzzle together. So coming back to the BubbleTech, I will feature a link in the description box, because you've already put it all out there for how to make them. And as you say, it's Sandbox 101. It's a very, very simple process. What is the what are the principles behind the violet ray wands? How does that? Because to somebody who has no kind of complete lack of understanding and knowledge, and they look at it, it looks hokum pokum. It just looks like nonsense. And that's just me being truthful of my own perception. And obviously I'm an open-minded guy. I can see that there's more to it. But maybe 10 years ago, I may have looked at this and gone, because I used to think like crystals was just, hokum pokum. But what is the fundamental kind of science behind the violet ray wands, and you know, I think like the copper macabres and things that other people are doing, I think is that helping the ability for it to transmit out, or is that more just kind of aesthetical then, should we say?
What did you say? What was the last one?
Forgive me, sorry. Let me ask you again. Let's stick with the violet ray wands first.
Yeah, okay. I'll answer you on the violet ray wands. Okay,
please,
obviously it's been around for 70, 80 years. You know,
I'd never heard of it myself. Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Until now.
Yeah. And what the bubble does is that it picks up the healing energy of the violet ray wand, amplifies it, and broadcasts it. Okay. It takes all of the 3D energy and converts it to 2D. And then in 2D, you're in the four-sided ethers, and it goes infinite straight away. You know? But we're building up bubbles, and ultimately, when you get enough bubbles operating, and the primary thing that bubbles is a violet ray wand. You know? And when we get enough bubbles operating worldwide, there will be a quantum leap. We'll go into dream time. You know? Right now, the violet ray wand, the wands themselves have either argon or neon in it, which is inert gas. Okay, inert gases are nonpolar. That's light of life. You know, polarity is not life. Non-polarity is light, like light, nonpolar. Okay, yeah. And then the inert gases, because they live in the four-sided ethers also, where we operate in BubbleTech. The inert gases live in that environment. Is the four-sided ethers rectangular? You got circular, square, rectangular, pentagonal, hexagonal, 7- and 8-sided ethers that I know of. You know, that is the background screen on which the computer simulation is projected. You know, the hive mind computer simulation, which includes the entire cosmos. You know, the entire multiverse. It all comes from our subconscious. And all of the aliens out there are humanoid. Excuse me. Your real shape is that of an anu, A-N-U. It's kind of as an ovoid, right? That's the real shape of absolutely everything. You know? And when you're in that shape, you can be everywhere all at once. You are everywhere all at once. So how is it and why is it that you come to us looking like us? Huh? If we're not the archetype. Okay, you were made in our image, period. Okay, in fact, everything out there is made in our image, and the way that you know that is that Earth is the center of this universe, and thus the center of the multiverse. Copernicus has been reversed significantly by 3 satellites. You know, all the galaxies lay out in concentric circles around Earth. That's 1. 2, the cosmic background radiation is uniform throughout the universe, except right here. One anomaly lays in an orbital plane of the planets around the sun, and the other anomaly crosses Earth. It is X marks a spot in the entire universe. It's only one X. It's right here. and then you get the fact, like the root core of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle and Schrodinger's cat, you know, way back when, was that the physicists' beliefs affected the experiments. Well, that's the same with everything. The scientists always find what they're looking for. For example,
shall find, as they say.
Yeah. For example, the Big Bang. I love this one. This is great. The Big Bang. You know, there's a lot of astrophysicists that don't like the Big Bang. You know, and astronomers. You know, and they want to find something different. Okay. Well, the way that you find something different is to find a galaxy that's blue shifting coming this way instead of everything else going the other way. You know? All right. So they found one. They actually found 2. And they were connected by like an umbilical cord. And one was a proto-galaxy or an offspring of a larger galaxy. Okay. And it was still connected by an umbilical cord. Major problem. They're blue shifting at different rates. That's millions of miles an hour, millions upon, that's not possible, you know? And so the astronomers and the astrophysicists that were against the Big Bang are kind of like scratching their heads, you know what I mean? Maybe we should consult.
Throw a spanner in the works, eh?
Or something? Okay, freaking idiots. You always find what you're looking for, period. I'm sorry, I didn't finish explaining the violet ray wand.
Oh, that's all right.
The violet ray wand, so the inert gases, when you ionize them, they create a scalar field, which is like a figure-8 wave, okay? But the figure-8 wave, no sinusoidal waveform ever crosses the x-axis. The x-axis doesn't exist. Zero doesn't exist. There is no zero. There is no 0 point. There's always a gap. And the physicists have known this for a long time. They used to call it the half integer area. You know, a half meaning one half of one half of one half of one. You never get there. Okay, but it's actually the 1/3 integer area, which is one of the very first things that when I started studying this stuff, I was trying to figure out how it is that quartz crystals amplify incoming radio energy so that you can hear it. You know, and you don't need electricity to do that. You know, they need to be organized properly within the radio set, and they'll pick up whatever frequency you tune to. You know, and so the way that's really simple. You know, the quartz crystal is a tetrahedron, and a tetrahedron describes a sphere, and every orb in this solar system has an anomaly at 19.5 degrees of latitude, which is where the tetrahedron touches the outside of the sphere. You know, one point would be at, say, the North Pole. The other 3 parts of the tetrahedron be at 19.5 degrees south, or north, whichever way. You know, you turn it around. And Saturn has a whole ring of turbulence at 19.5 degrees south. The red spot on the moon, on this planet, it's Hawaii, 19.5, where continuous volcanic action. You know, in our cells, we have a little blue dot. You know, on our cells. That's what Don Juan would call an assemblage point. You know, and we have a similar one. You know, for our holes. You know, right behind our right shoulder blade, an assemblage point. You know. And so therein lies the solution to the fact that the waveforms disappear. Well, the same thing is true of scalar waves. They disappear. They don't cross the x-axis. So what you wind up with is a series of half moons, which is a capacitance field, because they're exactly opposed to one another. Okay, you know, and so you have a series of half moons. And so what you wind up is that the scalar field produced by the ionized inert gases in the violet ray wand impose euphoria in whatever area of the body that they're going to, because all capacitance now creates euphoria. Okay, which is that's an installation by God, because euphoria also solves her loneliness and get rid of the root of duality. You know? And that's happening. We are in it. This is a change to the entirety of creation, because we're canceling duality with euphoria, and that euphoria comes from us, from humans, because they've been beating the shit out of us for years and years to come up with different permutations of entertainment. You know, we are the ultimate idiots. What's the joke?
Indeed. Can I ask, Mike, is that the same principle on how the Rife machines work? My friend Clay uses a Rife machine.
The way the Rife works is on impulse energy, and it works via the steadily MOR, modal oscillatory rate, which is what Rife called it. And the viruses are sugar coated, and so like
you've muted yourself, Mike, or you're frozen.
Sorry.
That's all right. No worries. I can cut that little bit out. I think you're silent. No, you're muted now.
I'm good.
There we go. There we go.
I'm not.
I think we're back.
All right. So, the modal oscillatory rate is what Rife found, because he was able to see the viruses with his microscope, and when he imposed the rate, they just explode. You know? And so he was really a microscope person also, and he developed microscopes. You know, they have crystal lenses, They have crystal barrels in between the lenses, so that the lenses, when they're shaped like that, tend to dissipate the image at the edges, but the crystal barrels holds the image together, and then it goes to the next lens, and it magnifies it more without destroying the image itself. And then he also used monochromatic light so that it wouldn't disperse as it traveled through the lenses. And the monochromatic light that he used was the most energetic, ultraviolet, or just below that, so he could see it. So he was able to see the viruses. And then the frequencies generator that he used was a worn out cathode ray tube that he got from the hospitals. Which is the cathode ray tube is basically a capacitor, and then so the reason it's worn out is because it starts discharging, and which messes up the X-ray. You can't, it blots it out, And so, but he could use that. You drive the the cathode ray tube at his rates, and it would spark gap. It creates a spark gap. This is also what Tesla was working on hugely. It was impulse energy, basically, which is just 1D, one-dimensional. And so because of that, Rife's technology would kill all the cancer viruses in an 8-mile radius. That's 200 square miles. So the cure for cancer could have been broadcast a long time ago. And we would have no cancer here now whatsoever. But so, which is different than the violet ray wand, which doesn't kill anything. It's all about healing things. First of all, with the scalar wave, and then nextly with the rate that's produced by the violet ray wand itself, which is, there's varying opinions on it, but we have one measurement at 33,333 cycles per second. Well, 3 is the rate of creation. In the four-sided ethers, you have, for example, argon or neon, the inert gas, right? But they don't travel singlet, even though they're monoatomic, singlet atoms. They always travel in pairs, like electrons and photons, and everything does in the four-sided ethers. And the reason they travel in pairs is because in between you got a gap, which is God. Okay, and so therein is the source of the 3. Which extends onto the background screen entirely, which the ethers are made out of love, and the anu that's within the ethers is made out of love and time. It's got the double helix, it's got 2 lines, okay? One is love and the other is time. When God became aware of the passing of time within the ethers, it created the anu automatically. The idea of time is like male, because it's that, and so that went into an etheric cell and had to spin back on itself, and as a result, it twisted up into the anu. It's a very logical, straightforward way that the anu formed within the ethers. And so you got a scroll work of light, they used to call it, that is the God particle, that is everything that you see, that has consciousness, and it's connected to the hive mind shit show. And the way that you know that, those 16 Jesus figures, okay, not one single one of them ever taught us telepathy. None, 0. Okay? Had they done that, that would set us free. So they are part of the hive mind shit show, right? And one of the ways that you know that is that I'd lived in a monastery for a while too. We studied enlightenment. All the religions say we're all become enlightened, so we were looking for a universal enlightenment system. Right? Then I found it, this device that I've got, this dream machine, which is also an enlightenment device. But so everybody's to become enlightened, okay? And we all are, actually. And the way that we're enlightened is via the anu that's over us. But all major enlightenment experiences have had a cathartic event, and that cathartic event is not really like the caterpillar coming out as a butterfly. It's the opposite. It's where our anu comes over us, okay? And it is that your spiritual body overtakes the physical body. Okay, well, the spiritual body is the Anu, is connected to the hive mind shit show, and that's why they never taught us telepathy. Because
It's interesting, Mike, and I think telepathy is one of my key skills I'd like to rediscover, because it's just a game changer, isn't it? Language just keeps us divided. It's so clunky, and Max Spears was talking before about kind of 4D communication, which fascinated me. Can I ask, like, I've been discovering about ORMS. So I know a lot of people spell it ORMUS, but it's actually ORMES, isn't it? But that's not important. But the first thing I thought of when I was introduced to the concept of ORMS was medicinal mushrooms and medicinal cannabis and things like that. Can you tell us a little bit about ORMS and kind of how that fits in with the kind of scalar? I've been connected up with one of the group members, Jose Laulupez, and his partner. We're going to do a little podcast soon, and that's kind of his field of expertise, I think. Can you tell us a little bit about ORMS and kind of scalar and what it is and the science behind it?
Oh, yeah, I know a great deal about it.
If you would, I would really appreciate it. It'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, ORMS is orbital rearranged monoatomic elements. It was a description of the gold and all the platinum group elements by David Hudson. And so that was condensed to ORMS. And it's white powder gold. I tend to call it the white powder gold. White powder gold is present in all living things, including stars. And the white powder gold is 2D, and which is, Hudson said that, and it's very obvious as to why it's 2D, because if you have a very pure sample of the white powder gold, I mean totally pure, not one interfering atom, okay, then when you go to spectrographically analyze it, which is like ringing a bell, and when you ring the bell with like neutron activation or atomic absorption, whatever, the spectra that comes off at right angles has been identified for every atom and molecule in the universe, okay? Particularly molecules. And the spectra will have a certain way that the colors and a certain width of the colors and so on and so forth. And the spectrographic analysis devices can analyze down to the parts per billion of any material as what exactly is in there that we know of, except for the white powder gold. Because when you go to ring the bell with the white powder gold, the Raman shift goes off at right angles, is either whole light, which is unreadable, or nothing. which really fries their noodle when they go bing and they get nothing, and they go, what? And they look, is there something in there? Yeah. Now, I mean, you can't have one interfering atom, but the interfering atom that's normally there is aluminum, and you strike the bell and the whole sample will read as aluminum, because it mirrors. It's like a stem cell, like photons are basically stem cells. So also is the white powder gold. It's stem cell for living material. And it's nonpolar, so it flows the light of light, and it's superconducting, which is the light of light. And so that's what ORMS is. 10% of the Earth's magma is the white powder gold. And I've got a gold mine that's exactly like that. 10% of it is the white powder gold. I'm not going to tell you where it's at.
Fair enough. How does it affect biological matter then with the plants and stuff? How does it have that effect to improve its kind of, how do you want to say it, biological structure or nutrient efficiency and all this kind of stuff? Because people are talking about all different kind of ways they're using it to improve crops and improve, as I said, the medicinal mushrooms, medicinal cannabis and stuff. How does that actually work? What's the kind of fundamental mechanical principles behind how it works?
Well, the plant proteins chelate the ORMS. Aloe vera is the best at that, okay? But also cannabis and all the other plants, any plant, we've done this. You take and grind up the ore from our mine and you spread it as dust on any garden or agricultural area, and it will explode. You got to be real careful. Actually, you can only put a very light dusting. You put too much, it'll fry it.
Right.
Too hot for it. Like, for example, where this gold mine is, nothing grows on top of it, even though it's highly fertile.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to speaking to Jose because that's something I would like to kind of get into myself.
So you have plant proteins, okay? And the root of proteins is glycine, okay? Glycine is nonpolar. And in a bubble field, in a coherent field, basically nonpolar, okay? Glycine production increases 300%. So everybody that's been in BubbleTech for a year or more is using, because you're creating stem cells in vivo at a root level due to being in the coherent field.
So fascinating stuff. So fascinating stuff. And
BubbleTech is mankind's most important technology. Period.
Well, this
even
is
beyond the white powder gold.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mike. And the thing is, the first question, like I said to you before we started recording, is, you know, what I'll do myself personally is I will try. I have not had the money to buy one, but I want to get an EMF reader, get the EMF readings around the property, then build the BubbleTech device, and then redo it. Because I know you were saying the one that you made with Sandra DeRoy, you know, you checked it and you had to go right up to the devices to be able to pick up any kind of signal. And as I said, if you're able to do that, am I coming through all right? Let me move this. Once you're able to prove that, people are going to want to do it, because I think most people are on board now with the kind of the negative deleterious effects of the 5G, the Wi-Fi. It's not really up for debate anymore. You just have to do it, you know? It's one of those.
Yeah,
but
the 5G and nuclear radiation, and even the directed energy weapon that hit, you know, Paradise, California.
Yeah.
It's candy for a bubble. The bubble picks it up, converts it to life force energy, and it does. And the ionizing radiation has the effect of increasing the charge accumulation on the plates, which increases the capacitance field, which increases the nonpolar energy. It's kind of amazing, but the 3D energy gets absorbed into 2D, you know, and the directed energy weapon that hit Paradise, California, there's a bubble there, and for about, I don't know, 50 feet around the bubble, you know, the most powerful weapon known to man struck it, and everything's greener, and everything outside of that area is ash.
It's fascinating stuff.
I don't know, 50 feet or 100 feet. I don't know. I can it's at least 50 feet. No.
And what's the vision then, Mike? Is the vision to get enough people on board to kind of cobweb the network globally to the point where we get to a critical mass, and then it all links up, and as you said, the whole dream state, which the Aboriginal people talk about, don't they? This kind of
the golden age or dream time. It's actually light purple. Light purple age is what's coming, because, you know, the euphoria is changing the color spectrum, and, you know, the fear that's associated with color red will go away, you know, and so red goes away, and so so does black, and so does piezoelectric green. Piezoelectric love is a problem, you know. Love is well, obviously fear was the first problem, but love was the second problem, you know. And the reason is because love is self-attracting. You wind up in continuous orgasm, okay? And which is the ultimate purgatory, because it's hard to get out of, number one. Yeah. Number two, there's no creativity going on there. That's why we aren't in there. We escaped, all of us that are on Earth now, are pure consciousnesses that escaped from continuous orgasm. It still goes on in this multiverse, as well as an entire original multiverse that's still orgasmic.
You're the only person I've ever heard talk about that concept, Mike. And
well, no, the Robert Monroe found them. You know,
I'm just saying, you're the only person that I've personally heard of speaking, and I will share it. What the hell? I have dreams, lucid dreams of kind of permanent orgasms, which are quite bizarre. What do you make of that? When I say permanent, I mean like an orgasm is generally, I'm sure most people would agree, a kind of release, contract bodily kind of experience. But I'm talking about just 100%, almost as if you urinated an orgasm, if that's the best way I can describe it. And you've just, And it's weird because I had one of those dreams last night. I've got a dear brother, Justin Tanneman, and we were talking about DMT, recall on DMT, and he was saying, try and practice your lucid dreaming. And I just, spontaneously had a lucid dream, but that element of it often comes up. And yeah, I've had those thoughts, like you could get stuck in that forever because it's so pleasurable. Have you ever heard anybody else talk about things like this from a personal perspective, or because it's not the kind of thing you share, really, is it? And I'm
well,
you're talking about it on my
I'll
podcast.
tell you the truth.
Shit, but
well, other than Robert Monroe, and the astral projection folks that have been there, to where that continuous orgasm goes on. You don't want it. You get sucked in there and you're stuck for a while before you get out.
Now, I can imagine so. Yeah, I can imagine so.
And there's no creativity going on there. And so, yeah, you're right. People don't talk about that much, especially the metaphysical fluffheads that keep harping about love as being the answer. It's not. It's one of the problems. It's kind of like what I like to say to him. Excuse me, if a wonderful universe where orgasm was continuous was a sustainable way of living, you'd be there, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
How much love do you want, Okay, well, that's where you're going to wind up, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, this is fascinating because the synchronicities are becoming thick and fast, Mike, which leads me to think I'm on the right path. So, yes, on that note, Mike, I must say it's been an absolute pleasure chatting, and I hope we can have an ongoing dialogue. I really want to make my bubble quite special, so I'm going to wait until I've got, and like I said, arguably they're not very expensive, but I do want to get, I already use shungite for my water. If I may, just before we go, tell us a little bit about shungite, if you would, Mike, because I know what it does. It's all to do with the Buckminster Fullerene kind of formation of the structure of the substance. But what does it do to the water?
It imparts C60 to the water. Here, let me show you something real quick.
Okay, yeah, please do.
That's a bubble piece right there. Okay.
Beautiful.
And this is water charging. That's a concrete piece that's cooling the wand. The wand is obviously on. And these are plaster pieces with all the proper bubble type stuff in it. This is a thing of diatomaceous earth, water charging up. Well, anyway.
I've already got my diatomaceous earth. I've got my my shungite there. Someone mentioned about
all you need is the concrete block, the oldest one you can find. You start with that. It's actually important to start with that.
What is the understanding behind that then? Because it just, to my mind, I'm like, well, it doesn't make sense. But obviously, there's logical reason to it.
Oh yeah. No, it's the concrete is calcium silicate,
right?
And the calcium is conductive, and the silicate's a semiconductor. So you have an organic mix. The concrete automatically is an organic mix. So also is plaster, gypsum. The concrete's more powerful, and you can feel it better. And plaster is important later on when you start making bigger concrete pieces. We put plaster domes on them, and it's like Mondo Bizarro. Like here, the last 2 days it's been supposed to hail and rain. It's been brilliant sunshine. I said no thanks.
Beautiful. No, it's good, and I think I will. I'd love to keep an ongoing dialogue if we can, Mike, and I will keep you up to date when I get it ready. And as I said, I would like to do the testing and stuff because. I'm sure some people have looked at
a bottle of Ray 1 and a piece of concrete to start with.
Yeah, and it does seem, doesn't it? Sometimes the most effective solutions are the simplest, So
that's why this is predetermined tech because it's cheap. Everybody can do it. Everybody needs to do it, and it'll change the entire planet.
I'm down for change, my brother. I'm down for change. Well, Mike, thank you very much for your time, brother. I really do appreciate it. Was there anything else you wanted to round off to just before we round off?
Well, I was going to answer your other question. I forget that you're asking me. I wanted to show you the bubble piece.
Oh, what did I ask? Oh, the shungite. Sorry, yeah.
Shungite. Well, shungite manifests C60 in water. C60 stops human aging. And because it's also, amazingly, C60 is nonpolar. You know, I mean, it's really phenomenal that it's nonpolar, but it is. And well, carbon 12 in general. I love carbon 12, but the way that shungite does that is that you got the crystals in the shungite are carbon or carbon based, okay, and they are organized in such a way that they quite literally manifest C60 in the same way that a replicator would, a Star Trek replicator, you know, by an orientation of the crystals, you know, you're facing, you know, at a point, okay, and then the C60 occurs, you know, manifests at that point, okay, and so when you stress shungite, that's what it does. It creates C60, you know. And so I put it in the kettle, you know, in the hot water kettle. So
same. I don't put it in my kettle, but I've got it in my glass jar, and like the tap water's gross. My distiller broke, but you taste a bit of tap water, you're like, oh no, that's nasty. Leave it in the shungite for 24 hours, and it's beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, it tastes like spring water. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Well, Mike, again, thank you very much for your time, brother. I really do appreciate it, and have yourself a wonderful weekend, and I will hopefully catch up with you in maybe a couple of weeks to a month, if that's all right.
Yeah, send me the video when you got it done.
Will do, yeah. I'll try and get it by tomorrow now, so I'll send you the link as soon as it's up.
Okay, blessings.
Fantastic. Take care, brother. All the best.
Euphoric blessings.
Thank you very much, brother. All the best.
Goodbye.
Thank you, sir. Take care.